Good afternoon, David.
Good afternoon, everybody. If we can make a start. Before we start, I'm obliged to inform you that this meeting is being videoed. Members of the public are entitled to record the proceedings and are requested to give prior notice so that any additional measures that can assist can be put into place. Any member of the public who has any concern should raise them now. No, thank you. Item 1 on the agenda, that's apologies for absence. We have apologies from Lee Chapman and Simon Jones. Any more apologies?
I'm here on behalf of
Item 2 on the agenda, that's the pecuniary interest. Has any member got any pecuniary interests they want to declare? No? Thank you. Item 3, the minutes have been circulated. Can I sign those to a record at last meeting? All those in favour? Anybody against? Right, it's carried, thank you. Public question time, we have none. Scrutiny, we have none. Item 6 is the revenue monitoring report for quarter 2. I think it's refreshing to see that we've only, well, not refreshing, but the overspend of 0.635 million on a total expenditure, I think is something that's quite credible. I think in the past we've had much further overspends. I think to address the question, we're all facing the financial difficulties and therefore being far more careful. This is the report on the last of the 2014-17, the previous 3-year plan. Of course, we'll be starting on the new plan. We delivered, we believe we can deliver the 23.1 million savings and a further 1.3 of the red saving. We're reasonably confident that we can deliver that. You will notice the overspends I've just mentioned, and also the projected general fund balance for the 31st of March 2017 is now £17.735 million. With that, I move the recommendation. Does anybody second that?
Second.
That's seconded, right, Roger?
Thank you, Chairman. I note the overspend does not include all the one-offs which are being used to bolster the budget up because Cabinet are unable to meet the planned savings that were in the original plan. So there's a lot of one-offs. But that's going to scrutiny anyway, next week at performance. Why I put my hand up, Chairman, was that I'm concerned that page 9, where it does the social care operations, and the large amount of CHC debt has also not yet been raised in relation to the joint packages as we wait sorry, the one before that. The CHC has not repaid all its money, or the CCG. I'm not sure what we're talking about here because I asked a question at the health overview scrutiny about 2 months ago about the CCG debt to this council, and I was told it had all been agreed and sorted. And I'm concerned that I see a paragraph here which says it has not yet been sorted and it may contribute to some overspend. I also have a question on page 19, but do you want to take that question first?
Yeah. We're concerned about the money that the authority is owed, and we are taking actions to try and recover that money. I don't know if the Chief Executive wants to add anything to that.
Yeah, the lead is absolutely right. Over the last year, we have taken this matter up with the CCG. They have gone through a succession of changes in accountable officer, their chief officer. We've had 4 accountable officers in the last 18 months. The latest of them is in post as of last week. And I have written, we are meeting with officers of the CCG later on today in order to try and resolve this issue. However, I don't think we've ever said it has that it's been dealt with. We're always aware that debt is building. We are now at a time when we're likely to bring that to a head. in the next weeks and months.
But can I ask a question specifically at the Health and Adult Overview Scrutiny Committee, and the cabinet member with the CCG there said it had been talked about, discussed, and an agreement had been obtained. That's my remembrance in answer to a question that I asked there.
The only agreement that had been made is each would put their case, recognise what each other was saying, and then we would agree whether or not we are in dispute. Because there's been a change of accountable officer, we're still back there, and as I said earlier, officers are meeting this afternoon, and it's too early to say. We'll know more by the end of the week whether we are in dispute with the CCG or not. But to be absolutely clear, the debt is not resolved. It hasn't been resolved in the past. All that's been achieved in the past is putting mechanisms in order to solve that dispute, and so far that hasn't worked.
I'm going to be asked Louise if she wants to say something, but we are concerned about it, Roger. We're taking the action, and we're determined we shall recover it in one way or another. So, Louise.
Just to reconfirm on the Chief Executive's points, and the Directorate has prepared all the evidence around on a case-by-case basis of the funds that are owed, and we are waiting for the CCG to produce that same evidence on a case-by-case basis, which as yet has not been forthcoming, despite it being promised, as the Chief Executive says, throughout the summer holidays.
Yeah, I understand the concern, and I share your concern. It's just my understanding of the answer that was given by officers, by cabinet member of this council.
Well, he's not here to answer for
I know,
himself.
and I understand that. So I won't pursue it, but I will pursue it maybe at the scrutiny next week. But my other question, Chairman, is concerning the Appendix 3 on page 19. I welcome the extra money going into recycling of empty homes. This is the empty home that was looked at by scrutiny and was supported by the portfolio holder. So that's it. Disappointed it's only 250,000, because I think we could have got more money, more extra money for this council if we'd have invested that little bit more. But I'm not sure what the targets are in the future. How many are we expecting to get? What sort of return are we expecting?
May I leave it? If I can just respond, Roger. I too am delighted that the money's been released for the empty properties. You say it's only 250,000. I think 250,000 is a reasonable amount of money to start with. It does mean that the work can now continue with the empty properties that we've identified. I think why I wanted to speak was because also in addition to this, we've got Capacity Grid coming back in. This is a private company. We're coming back to speak with the council, and particularly with council tax, so as they can understand the process. Capital Grid will do work for us, looking at all the empty properties that have been identified, and where they can be brought back into use, they will do, but they don't get paid on performance, so it's almost like a win-win situation. They're telling us, and it's only what they're telling us, there's a potential if they do that work to get an income of around £500,000 towards new homes bonus, which clearly would welcome. But I say that's what they're predicting. Anything in between from naught upwards is going to be worth something, I suppose. So the work is paid on performance. If they don't perform, we don't pay them. If they come up with the results, then clearly it's worth the work. So I'm pleased that the money's gone in place, because it will now allow that to progress. Just on you said about how many properties would be back into use. I don't think you can work it quite like that. Just because you've got a certain amount of doesn't mean you can bring 10 properties back into use or 50 properties. What I said we do and we are doing was to look at those properties that are really difficult. And I've got members in the room from Much Wenlock who will concur that we picked on a property in Much Wenlock, which is a listed building that's been empty for many years, as an eyesore. It needs to be brought back into use. I think there's potential to use the money there. I also think there are other properties around the county equally which are high profile that we need to target and bring back into use. Not just by money, but also through by using our enforcement powers under Section 215, and potentially even going to the nth degree where we do CPOs. Not big numbers, but I think if we mean what we're saying we're going to do, we have to show our teeth and follow it through. And I think if we do that, get it into the media and show the work that we've done, and that in itself will have the impact to bring other people to the table and sort their own problems out, bring those problems back in use. So long answer, Leader.
Thank you, Cecilia.
Chairman, thank you very much. I just wanted to attest to the fact that real efforts are being made to bring empty houses back into use. I've had a problem in my division for a very long time with 2 empty properties. Parish Council has been working incredibly hard with our empty homes people trying to reach a solution to this. And I'm delighted to be able to tell everybody that a planning application has now gone in for that site to deal exactly with this problem. So I think that is a real bonus, because this has been a problem which has been going on for a very long time, but I think it does actually demonstrate that we really are getting onto this now. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman, for letting me come back. I'm glad somebody is having some action taken. There's a house which the portfolio and holder knows in my area, which has been for 25 years, has been like this. And I wanted a 215 noticed on it, or something happening about it, and there has been a total failure in doing it. I think it is on the list, a high profile, so it is known about. But yes, we do need to do some action. But I also notice about talking about homes and the new homes bonus. I'm not sure how much we had in new homes bonus this year. Was it 4, 5, 6 million? I don't know. But I see there's just £74,000 left available to spend that hasn't been used to prop up the council's budget.
I'll just quickly to respond to Roger. And firstly, Roger, I recognise and acknowledge the property that's in your ward. I don't want to speak about specifically in here because there are issues around that you'll be aware of. I will take that up again with officers because I know it's a very complicated and difficult one, but equally I agree with you, it's one that's been empty for far too long. Just to paint the picture for the media that's sitting there, you know, it's very difficult with empty properties, unless they're causing an inconvenience or a problem to neighbouring properties, then there's no reason why if someone wishes to keep them empty. I'm aware of one property that was built 25 years ago in the county, and for 24 years it's remained empty. I just can't grasp why people want to do that, but that's what they've done. But if it's not causing an issue to anybody else, then they're entitled to do that.
And we have to remember the new homes bonus act is part of the overall budget of the council.
And it's just to answer Roger's question, the overall new homes bonus I believe is around 9.3 million that we received from the government.
Okay. Anybody else? Well, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favour? Is anybody against? That's carried. Thank you. Item 7, that's the capital monitoring report for quarter 2. If you can see, we're only halfway through the year, and we've only spent 26, but we have reprofiled the capital budget. As you know, we started to look at the capital programme with a view to prioritising that element that would produce ongoing revenue streams to support the revenue budget in later years. I think it's pretty straightforward. It's all there before you. And I'll move recommendation A, B and C from the chair. Is that seconded?
Yeah.
Right, Roger, did you want to speak to that?
If I can, Chairman, just again, it's going to the scrutiny next week and do it more. But I'm disappointed I can't locate any large investment into LED lights that are owned by Shropshire Council. I understand Staffordshire, for example, is investing, there's over 130,000 of their lights they're converting to LED, and the savings will be more than the cost of the conversion because of the interest rates that they will pay.
George?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Roger. We have a 5-year programme to replace the majority of our street lights that Shropshire Council owns. We're investing £150,000 a year, and I think we're in year 3 of that 5-year programme.
Okay. Any more, anybody? I'll move the recommendation be proposed seconded. All those in favour, please show. Right, thank you. We now come on to item 8, a student accommodation quality accreditation mark scheme. Mark,
Thank you, Lee. If I can just say very few brief words. Part of the process with the university and the role of our own scrutiny committee, we said that we'd set up a student accreditation scheme, and that's what this paper is about. The consultation responses are in Appendix 1, the accreditation scheme itself is Appendix 2, I'm not going to go into it unless you wish me to, and the checklist is at the back. What I would say is that to get people onto the university register for students, They need to go through the process with ourselves, and the cost is £135, which covers 3 years. That is purely to cover our own costs, really nothing else. We're not making a profit out of it. And for anybody who fails to come up to standard when we go around, they have 3 months to correct it, and we will go back and we will re-inspect it during that period for no charge. Also, on top of that, we're asking those people who wish to be on the scheme that they will attend a half-day course, which will to do with educating them on the welfare of the properties, and that will cost £40. So, good news as far as I'm concerned. It's been through the process, and I look to support from the council, Cabinet on section 2.1 A to C.
Okay, so that's seconded? That's seconded, right, Alan?
Well, I'm pleased to see this scheme, which will offer obviously protection to students, and obviously give the landlords guidance in how they should address the accommodation of students' intrusion. However, there is obviously wider issues relating to this. One is ensuring that although the numbers have not been enormous so far, there is evidence that they're starting to take off. One issue is ensuring that there's adequate accommodation for first-year students and other students at the university who might want formal accommodation provided. There was a paper, obviously, that was withdrawn from the cabinet. Just want to have some assurance that there are going to be adequate provision for new students coming forward, and just some clarification of what the role of the council will be in supporting that provision. There's also the issue about the process, or the potential process, of studentification. Certain communities within the area are overburdened and taken over by the student community. Obviously not an issue at the moment, but we've got to look ahead and ensure that the benefits of the university do not come to the detriment of communities that suffer from studentification. Not getting into the process and some of the implications of that. Now, we were going to get some planning policy sorted that would deal with that. We were going to look at the issue of designating areas as A4D areas, which would limit the possibility of studentification. Could I ask the portfolio holder what progress has been made in extending the controls in those areas?
Before I ask Mel to come in on that, just to be absolutely clear, that the council plays a hard regard for the university. It's going to play an important part in our industrial strategy. It's going to be part of the offer to attract businesses into the county and into Shrewsbury, and our part of the commitment to the university is to supply enough student accommodation for the students coming. I believe our plans are robust to deal with any numbers that we're likely to be having. We're looking at it all the time, and we shall make sure that our commitment is fulfilled. We think the success of the university is very, very important to this county in all kinds of ways, and it's going to play an important part in, I think, the prosperity of any industrial strategy that comes out of our deliberations at the moment. Do you want to add anything to that?
Just very quickly to respond to Alan, I'm not going to go into the specifics of the report that you spoke of, other than to acknowledge what the leaders just said, that I'm happy that the provision that's required for student accommodation within Shrewsbury will be covered by the council in the majority. This was just one paper, Alan, of a number of papers that we agreed that we do with regard to the university. The one was around the SPD, the housing SPD, which was going to include the HMOs. That's already been written up, ready to go. In fact, it's been out to consultation once, but we've had to pull it back and do a bit more work on it following the Housing Minister's statement that changes to the affordable housing levy, etc. So that is due to go out for consultation again very shortly, so I'm confident that will be out. I don't see any changes to the HMOs bit that we spoke of. It's purely to do with other parts of the document. Once that's done, that's fine. I'm just trying to think what else you covered. There's a couple of issues around the HMOs. We said we'd look at the numbers that we'd already got. That's work I'm still pushing product protection to do. They haven't done it as yet, but we did say we'd get a register and know exactly what we've got already in line, so that when we come to And if you like, someone come forward with an address in the street where they wish to be created HMO, we could say yes or no to whether the majority of the street should be left or not. Does that cover the issues you've raised?
Well, it was a big question about changing the definition of HMOs from the larger properties that require registration now to smaller ones that would cover the predominant type of housing that student accommodation would be converted in.
Yeah, that's all.
Is that in process?
That's, as far as I'm aware, that's all covered in the SPD, but I will double check with Nick Woodton, but as far as I'm aware, it's there.
Roger?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I'm not sure if this problem with the HMOs and the plan is due to resources, but I do know in the revenue paper that was just considered by Cabinet that the actual income by the planning department is in excess of that budgeted by a fairly large sum. And I would hope that maybe some of that could be used within that department to actually enable this work to be done earlier rather than later.
Now, can I just reply quickly? I acknowledge that, and I'm pleased that the figures are as good as they are, which is excellent. But actually, you're wrong, because the areas that are doing this work are different sections. The housing SPD has been done by the planning policy team on the top floor, and the work with regard to the HMOs is being done by public protection. So they don't actually benefit from the funding that's coming through DM. But I acknowledge your point, and I would probably support what you've just said.
Okay. Anybody else want to speak to this now then? Must be moved and seconded. All those in favour of the recommendation, please show. Anybody against? Right, that's carried. Will somebody move now to exclude the press and public? Seconded? Yes. All those in favour? Thank you. Can I ask the press and any members of the public to leave the room?